Now, Hillary Clinton gave a speech at the New America Foundation just a couple of weeks ago. Boy, she sounded like a populist. She sounded like Elizabeth Warren. Gee, I wonder if she feels some heat from her as to whether she might run against Hillary Clinton in the Democratic primaries in 2016. So all of a sudden, Hillary Clinton's talking like a populist. She says, what happened in 2008 was a throwback to the Gilded Age of the robber barons. Yeah, go get them, Hillary. They're right there with the people, right? She says that there's a, quote, shadow banking system that operated without accountability. That's exactly right. Like guys like Goldman Sachs, right? And next week, the Clinton Foundation is getting all their top donors to assemble where? In the offices of Goldman Sachs. Okay, that's the tip of the iceberg. Then we're just getting started with that information. And of course, remember that Goldman Sachs also donated to the Clinton Foundation to the tune of $250,000 to $500,000. Now look, that's a donation, bless their hearts, right? Now, could it be to curry favor with the Clintons, one of whom was president and one of whom might be president next? Could be. But, you know, if it was just that, okay, hey, at least it went to charity, right? Well, the more important part of this is, as Mother Jones explains, a great story by David Korn. Last year, she gave 2 paid speeches to Goldman Sachs audiences. Her customary fee is $200,000 a speech. So it appears that Hillary Clinton made about $400,000 by talking to Goldman Sachs, and during that speech, she told them, oh, you're being unfairly maligned. So she goes in front of a progressive group, says, goddamn robber barons, can you believe what's happening? She goes to Goldman Sachs, give me $400,000. Oh, you guys, oh man, they're being so unfair to you. Man, the sack's on her. To have that kind of audacity to be that two-faced, but I guess she's been a politician for a long time now. Well, now look, she takes money from Goldman Sachs, but was Goldman Sachs part of the robber barons, the people that caused the collapse in 2008? Now, were they solely responsible? Of course not. But were they partly responsible? Okay, let me give you more quotes. Goldman practices had multiplied the effects of the collapse in the subprime mortgage market that set off the wider financial implosion, according to experts in the field. Now, if you think, well, maybe the experts don't know what they're talking about, Goldman Sachs was charged by the SEC with fraud for saying, hey, oh, we got these great securities for you guys, they're awesome. And meanwhile, they had set them to explode and bet against them. Now, well, those are just charges, right? I mean, Goldman Sachs, I'm sure, was totally innocent of them, except for the fact that they weren't. That's why they paid a $550 million settlement to the SEC. Now, that's actually relatively light given the amount of money that they made, but I can assure you if the Goldman Sachs hadn't done it, they've got the greatest team of lawyers there is. They're not going to pay a $550 million settlement. They did it. So if you aren't sure yet, how about a top former executive of Goldman Sachs who quit and then wrote this editorial? His name is Greg Smith. He said, I attend derivative sales meetings where not one single minute is spent asking questions about how we can help clients. It's purely about how we can make the most possible money off of them. It makes me ill how callously people talk about ripping their clients off. These are the lovely people at Goldman Sachs whose money Hillary Clinton takes over and over again and then goes and tells us about the robber barons. Gee, I wonder who those robber barons are. Even their own executives are saying, we're the robber barons. And then, of course, there was a Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission report. You remember about the collapse in 2008. Well, one of the experts in that report said that Goldman Sachs was, in essence, buying fire insurance on someone else's house and then committing arson. So now that's an analogy for those toxic assets that they would develop, sell to someone, and then once they collapsed, they would make money off of because they had bet against them. So that's part of why we had the financial implosion in the first place. And they also explained in the New York Times about an aluminum deal that they have where they pass aluminum around in different warehouses so they can trump up more extra charges. We did a story about that on the Young Turks. You should check out that video. That's an amazing scheme that they run. They say that also, quote, ultimately cost consumers billions of dollars. Gee, I wonder who the robber barons are. Okay. Now, the Clintons have a long history with those robber barons at Goldman Sachs. In fact, Bill Clinton appointed the former head of Goldman Sachs, Robert Rubin, to be his Treasury Secretary. And then the Clinton administration wound up deregulating the financial industry, which let them build those toxic derivatives in the first place, which caused the financial collapse of 2008. So we've seen this movie before. That's the most disturbing part of this. And she can talk populist all she likes, but both her husband and her have a huge history of actually taking money from those robber barons, supporting those robber barons, and then causing the collapse that we saw, which now she speaks against. When they point out the hypocrisy of all this to the Clinton camp, one of her advisors said, quote, "It's okay, she's not giving any more speeches to Goldman Sachs." Oh, are you not merciful? So she's already gotten paid by them. She doesn't need to get paid any further. It's a little embarrassing. So we'll now lead up to the Democratic primaries by pretending that we're against the guys who've been financing us all along. If anyone thinks that Hillary Clinton is actually a populist, actually a progressive, when it comes to financial matters, I got a totally bad news for you. The news is, the reality is they've been in bed with these guys for a long, long time, and they got no interest in changing that position. All they want to do is change the words so that they seem like they're on your side. Follow the money. That'll tell you whose side they're actually on.